Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this complete army video. In this episode we'll be taking a look at the Blood Angels. So this is a 2000 points army for 9th edition. Some tweaks have been made with the recent points updates that have come out, and also the changes to CPs and command points, the way that works now. We get less at the start, and I've had to adjust the list accordingly. So some slight changes taking place. Perhaps the most controversial army that I run on the channel, and the most heavily criticised, the different lists that I've run in the past. But I'm quite happy with this list here, but there is room for adjustments and changes. But I'm going to put this video out here and people can chew through the different options. But I guess with these kind of videos, it's a chance to explain all the unit choices and so on, and just to open up that whole discussion about what works and what doesn't work for the Blood Angels. So it's also a hobby video as well. It's a chance to take a look at the models. I'm going to zoom in soon. You can take a good look at some of the models as well. So a chance to see those up close. And in the video description below, I will put this full list. So you're welcome to copy it and you can use it in your own games. And it would be great to hear feedback from people that have used the list or elements of the list to see if it works for your own games of 40k. My aim on the channel is always to promote hobby and fun over and above sort of extreme competitive. So I try and build a list that works well and does well on the battlefield, but at the same time I try and create army lists that really celebrate whatever faction I'm collecting. I try and pick out models that are unique to the faction, and a nice spread of units, and really try and go for a sort of a nice looking force on the battlefield. But at the same time I'm trying to create something that works well. So you'll see elements of both here. It's a celebration of the hobby, celebration of Blood Angels, but also trying to make a list that works and performs well on the battlefield. So I guess for the Blood Angels chapter, you got Space Marines, so we're using units from here, and then you've got the unique expansion for the Blood Angels. I guess the Blood Angels, it's an army that, compared to other Space Marine chapters, this is one that likes to get stuck in, often against the nastiest of foes, Chaos, Tyranids. Blood Angels more than happy not just to gun them down, but to get stuck in close combat. So that kind of theme I try and echo. I don't really want to create like a gun line or a tactical manoeuvring type army, but more of an army that's going to smash into the opponent and cause mayhem and shed lots of blood on the battlefield is the idea. So and there's a whole theme of the Blood Angels, this intense ferocity with them, and this sort of it's uncontrollable rage that they have, and so close combat type units, the swift manoeuvring into combat fits them very well indeed. So you can see that reflected in the list here. But having said all of that, you've still got to create an army that works on the battlefield, so is able to secure and hold objectives, fulfill secondaries, and all those kind of things that bring in the points in order for you to win games. So there's those two things going on. It's trying to kill the opponent and trying to do it in spectacular fashion, but at the same time just keep raking the points in to make sure you get the victory. So some choices are, I'll explain these as I go along, some are tactical choices for the mission, others are there just to kill as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So there's those two elements going on. I will zoom in and we'll take a look at some of the models at this stage, just a bit of hobby time. So some of my some of my unit choices, they're not popular. So these, for example, not too popular in Space Marine armies at the moment. It's the Invicta Tactical Warsuit. I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure they will see an improvement as in the future. They're a fantastic model, sort of a scout dreadnought. Armor's been trimmed down. Don't have all the full war gear that a regular like Redemptor Dreadnought would have. You can't pop smoke with these, for example. They don't get the -1 damage that regular Dreadnoughts get, so there is some downers to these. We'll talk about it as we come to the profile and their inclusion in the list here. So you can see the marking on these, number 2 here, and then the yellow as blood drop here, depending on what company you're going to go for the Blood Angels. But that's the Invicta Tactical Warsuit. Do have two of them. So you can pose them a little bit differently. This one's legs a bit further back, and he's got a bit of movement here with the arms if you want. So that's him. Like so. Next is the Librarian Dragnots. This is a unit that's unique to the Blood Angels. So this one is Remus here. I've actually etched it onto his heraldry just there. I'm running two, Romulus and Remus, I've called them, on the battlefield. But one of the unique units for the Blood Angels, I've tried to include as many of those as I can in the list to try and make them just distinct from other Space Marine chapters. There's Romulus, just there. So I do run a combo again. We'll cover this in the rules or the list. Then onto the HQs. This is your Terminator Chaplin. This is the old metal model with a severed orc head just there on the base. This model's been on the channel for a good number of years here. I've not put chapter markings on him, so I could swap him in and out of different Space Marine armies, but he serves with the Blood Angels here at this point. But fantastically themed model, this one here. Very, very cool. I'm really a big fan of this model. We'll keep going with the HQs. Well, there's one more for this list. Captain Lazarus, Dawnhammer himself, named a number of years ago on the channel. This is a conversion or a custom built model. So for him, there is a full video talking about the conversion and how it's put together. There's a couple of videos actually, so I'll track them down and put them in the video description below. A good number of people have copied this down through the years, trying to create what's known for Blood Angels players as a smash captain. So it's the jump captain. It's a captain equipped with a jump pack and then a thunderhammer, known as a smash captain. They've always been pretty good down through the different editions of the rules. Still pretty good. I'll show you the combination I run for him when we come to the list. Very briefly, this is a combination of Sanguinary Guard head, or it could be a head from a Terminator, Assault Terminator set. You can use any heads you want, but perhaps with the hair, I think it's from Sanguinary Guard. So a head from there, the torso here, or the chest from the Sanguinary Guard, the backpack from the Sanguinary Guard, and then the legs, the waist here and the legs, and the shoulder pads, and I think, and this arm here, and the wings are from Age of Sigmar. I think it's the Prosecutor set, so you managed to get hold of one of those off eBay. These flowing tassel things here, lifting them off the ground, that's all part of that Prosecutor set as well. So just combine the two together, both plastic models, so able to cut and glue them together. The arm and thunderhammer here, obviously from Space Marines, Assault Terminator squad, I think. Spare shield from the Assault Terminators just stuck onto there as well. So when you start to use elements of both, you can pretty much get away with it when you come to painting them. Obviously paint them up in the golden style here. Painting tutorial for Blood Angels is on the channel. And one for vehicles as well, I believe, as well. So you can use that for things like the tactical warsuits as a tutorial that will help you do all the vehicles. I show you how to paint Blood Angels Terminator. But the process for gold, which is, there's less on the Terminator model, but it's the same process that you see here, just on a much larger scale. So you can follow that tutorial along for the Blood Angels Terminator, and it'll show you how to paint any of the Blood Angels models, no problem at all. It's a step-by-step process, and if you follow it along, you should be able to achieve the same results that you see here. But it seems to have worked out quite well. Already something glorious and spectacular on the table is these Prosecutor wings. Absolutely fantastic, perfect for Blood Angels. So there he is. Like so, and lifted nicely off of the ground as well, which is fantastic. So Lazarus Dawnhammer here, just an iconic, unique smash captain for my Blood Angels list. Then I'll show you a unit that has served well on the channel, and that's my Assault Terminators. The number of battles that these have been in is beyond count now. It's so many battles against different foes down through the years on the channel. They've been there, say right from the start, but very early on they've been fighting away against all sorts of different enemies in the past. So you can get proper assault Terminators now, but this is the older set, and these shoulder pads here, which are really nice. I'm not sure if they're still available, but they are the Blood Angels Terminator shoulder pads from Forge World. Same with this part here. It's part resin shoulders across there. So there he is. Won't show the whole unit. We'll move on to perhaps more modern units here. Intercessors. Again, if you like the painting style here from start to finish, I'll show you exactly how it's done. The tutorials, link for them in the video description below. There he is. Got quite nice Primaris models for Blood Angels. Plasma Inceptors. I'll show you one of them. Like so. Nice aggressive sort of firepower from these. And then I went on to paint Incursors. Yeah, quite nice. Like so. And then back to one of the unique units that you can only get for Blood Angels, Sanguinary Guard. Still a fantastic unit. Brilliant sculpt on these. Other Space Marines can look quite small on the table with the sculpting, but these have stood the test of time. They're a fantastic sculpt. They look brilliant on the battlefield. Brilliant. Love the way they go. And, you know, unique. The gold colour scheme with the red and the white. Beautiful, beautiful colour scheme. So they're very, very eye-catching. I'll show you a couple of others. So I'm a big fan of these. Another one. Sword back. This is the Carmine blade. And here the sword lifted right up. It's like a double-handed, super long sword. It's huge. So there he is. A couple more. I'll show you a couple more because you can pose these and equip them just so differently. They're brilliant kit. There's another one. You can go for the bareheaded option. So a little bit more hobby time here just to show you. Go for the bareheaded option. Like so. Or you can go for these masks here, which just look very cool. Brilliant. And here as well. So, massive fan of the Sanguinary Guard. They're a popular choice amongst Blood Angel players at the moment as well. That just gives you a flavour up close here of the units that I use. So, that's just a bit of a showcase to give you an idea. You can use that as a painting reference. And as mentioned, check out the tutorials. They'll guide you through from start to finish, show you loads of time-saving techniques. Red is tricky to paint, so that's all covered. The basing's covered in there as well. Transfers, how to paint the gold, black, gems, all that covered in those videos. So do make full use of that. It shows you exactly how to paint the Blood Angels to the standard that you see here in the video. And then I should be able to track down the links for the conversion work there for Lazarus, the captain. So getting into the list, we'll pull the units across to gradually build the army up on the table here so you can see it. So for Blood Angels, there's the two elements I've mentioned already. You're trying to tactically win the game by harvesting points, holding objectives, securing different parts of the battlefield and so on. So you've got units that need to work doing that. Not necessarily units that are going to go and kill stuff, but units that were there for tactical purposes. And then I need a force that's going to strike hard against the opponent to disrupt their plans and try and do as much damage to them as possible, and also protect the other part of my force that's out fulfilling secondaries and holding objectives and so on. So you're going to see two elements to the army here. It's the assault part that's there just to get stuck in and kill stuff, and then the tactical choices. So I'm warning you, this list is controversial. I'm starting on 0 CP now, so you should get 6. I'm running a double patrol, so I'll lose 2 CP for that. And I really have chewed through this and trying to save CP, but I need these Warlord traits and relics, so I'm running 2 Warlord traits, 2 relics. So it was 5 previously in total. I've had to drop 1 now with the changes for command points. So I'm starting on 0 CP. As soon as the game begins, I'll get 1. And then that's the start of turn 1 for whoever goes first, and then on the next player's turn, or the next player when they go, they're going to get another command point. So on turn 1 you're going to get 2 CP coming through. So we'll need to be careful about how they're used, but as you'll see, I think the value is there for these Warlord traits and relics. So, but you can leave your own comments and suggestions and changes and so on. For the actual real sort of army development that takes place, that series is over on YouTube channel membership. So you become a channel member, an aspect warrior or higher, you get access to all of the bonus content. With the army development series, I propose new lists, and then people are able to interact with that, make suggestions and changes and so on. Sometimes big changes, sometimes small. Some of the units that are in this list at the moment, they're from suggestions that have come through from people. So the army development videos are a great way of sort of interacting and making your own comments and suggestions. So you can do that with all the videos now on YouTube. You can stay on YouTube when you're a channel member, and you can leave comments in the comments section. Or we have the Discord community now, which has a tab that says Luke's Armies, and you can go on there and leave your own comments and suggestions there as well. And you can leave your own lists and discussion as well. The Discord community is a fantastic place now. It's getting busier and busier, and it's a great place to leave your own lists open for discussion, even reports from games you've been playing as well. So users are able to leave their own summaries of battles and so on. So that's on channel membership. Link for that in the video description below, or you can go to the channel homepage and join the channel. So we'll start with the HQs. So we're on double patrol. So that, the point behind that is it opens up the opportunity to take 4 HQ choices. I used to run even more for the Blood Angels, but I value all 4 of these here. They're all very important and quite effective units on the battlefield. So I guess we'll start with the captain, Captain Lazarus Dawnhammer here. So I run him, or he comes from the actual Space Marine Codex. So you go to here for him, and you're just taking a regular Space Marines captain here. He starts off, give you all the points values here, so 85 points to start off with him. You're getting a 3-up save. He's got a built-in 4+ invulnerable save here for Iron Halo. It comes as part of his standard loadout. He's got 5 wounds, 4 attack space, and so just sort of a generally okay stat line for him. It's all right, but for it to be really effective on the battlefield, there's loads of little tweaks and extras that I think need to be added on to him to really turn him into a proper smash captain to make that kind of an impact on the battlefield. For core units, he grants reroll 1, so he's handy to have hanging around with core units, which he does usually in games. I then paid to give him a jump pack, so 25 points, but that's going to grant you fantastic mobility across the board. It's going to mean that he can deep strike in as well, so for that, as a tactical choice, is a major improvement. To be walking around 6 inches around the table trying to hunt down targets to fight them, it's difficult, it's hard to do it, and so that 12-inch jump, tactically, massive tactical choice, so highly recommended to take the jump pack. Give him a Thunderhammer for 20 points. For him, for this list, I actually tweaked it. It was a suggestion that came through. Drop the Storm Shield. Because you're paying, you can take it if you want to, he's modelled with it, but he's got a 4+ invuln save anyway. It comes as part and parcel of the cost. So you're going to keep the 4+ invulnerable save. The improvement to armour from the shield, he's got Armour of Contempt now, so it kind of, I don't think it's worth the 10 points. I've used that 10 points quite importantly to just about add in another model to this tweaked list here. So I'm actually dropping the Storm Shield, and he's going to work out at 130 points for him. So now you've got a model that's going to strike hitting on 3s here with this Thunderhand, which is okay. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, but yeah, it's not that great. And he's quite well protected, 4+ invuln save, moves around the table quite quick, but he's still quite low impact. It's not that great at all. On the charge, he's going to go up to 5 attacks, which is helpful. Turn 3 onwards, for Blood Angels, he's going to get another attack on the charge as well for Savage Echoes coming through. So that helps as well, but still, to make him really scary on the battlefield, there's more improvements that need to be made. This is why I'm running these extra wall of traits and relics, just to try and push him to the next level here. So I think it's worth the expenditure in CP. So first up is a is a relic. So we are looking at one of the relics that is unique to the Blood Angels. There's a number of good ones to choose from. Hammer of Bale. So this will give you ×2 strength, AP -3. I believe regular Thunder Hammer's AP -2, and then straight damage 3. There's no minus to hit rolls. So now he's back to hitting on 2s, so huge improvement, 2s to strike the targets. Now you're getting these number of attacks come through and hitting much more reliably. So then we then combine that with a Warlord trait, again unique to the Blood Angels, called Gift of Foresight. In each turn you can reroll 1 hit roll, a wound roll and a saving throw for this Warlord. So now you've got an improvement for hitting, for wounding, and also for his saving throw as well. So exceptionally useful. So now you've got a number of attacks. Say you've got 6 attacks, roll the dice, you're hitting on 2s, and there's a 1 in there, you can reroll that. And then when you're trying to wound, the main rule for Blood Angels is they're on +1 to their wound rolls if they charge, if they heroically intervene or they are charged by the opponent. So that's huge. It's a very, very strong rule for them. Also +1 advance, +1 charge for Blood Angels units as well. So that is their trademark, +1 to the wound roll, and that's why you get rewarded if you're trying to go for a sort of close combat, kill stuff type army. That +1 to the wound rolls in melee is huge. So high impact on the charge. You do get mightily rewarded for that. So that means often, the majority of the time, I think now, on the charge you're always going to win on 2s. I can't see how anything would get, unless there's some kind of modifications going on. So, 2s to wound, well, you got a chance to reroll 1 of those as well. So, nice and self-contained reliability with him. He's granting his own kind of rerolls, hitting very reliably, and then with a weapon that's nice high damage on it, nice high strength. So now he's fully equipped for the fight. Now, I could drop this one. You are allowed to then take a second Warlord trait. It has to be from different books. It has to be from the Space Marine Codex. I could drop this maybe, but it's the Imperium Sword. I think it's worth it for his CP. You can reroll charges, so he doesn't have to. You can land wherever he wants. He's going to get those reroll charges, which is great. And if he charges a performed heroic intervention, he gets an extra +1 strength, and he gets an extra attack as well. It's just stacking up those attacks coming through, and it makes him much more scary on the battlefield, just to be able to hit out with a lot more attacks, a lot more damage coming through. So it's a much higher chance of him taking out a vehicle, taking out a character, and wiping out a unit effectively enough on the table. And you're doing that just by a combination of Warlord traits and relics. So that's the captain. I want him to be able to fight well in close combat, so I've stacked up extra abilities on him to move him from average to good to strong. So next up, I said 130 points for him, and then we'll move on to, we'll stay with the Space Marine Codex, and we'll bring in this Chaplain. So this is an older model. We've zoomed in and seen him already. They've got a newer sculpt here, which looks fantastic. Will look really nice for this army. I'll stick with him, but the plastic one there from Games Workshop is really nice. So with the Chaplain, this guy is so important for this philosophy that I have for this army, the way I strike the opponent. So your different options to go after the opponent. You can try and move up the table, chance them to shoot you and to know where you're going and to react and move away or move in and counter-attack and so on. But to fit in with the theme of the Blood Angels, my main assault is via deep strikes. So to land on the battlefield and then charge in and cause as much damage. Strike first, cause as much damage as possible. It leaves the opponent guessing where you're going to turn up. They have to try and counter that with screening and so on. So it's a nice theme, good fun, and if well executed, it's absolutely deadly. The problem is the deep striking is the 9-inch charge. It's just half the time, if not more than that, your charge isn't going to go ahead, and that is disastrous. So how can you compensate for that? How can you try and make that up? Blood Angels have +1 built-in charge. You look at an 8-inch charge to try and make it in. It's still not good enough though. It means that you're going to get disappointed. Units aren't going to make it in. So what you're going to see here is a combo that I'm sticking with because it does work. the majority of the time. It makes charges reliable here with the help of this Chaplain. So we can explain how he works, but he's a vital part, a vital element of the army. And if you want to copy this combination and use this for your own Blood Angels army, then by all means try it out on the battlefield and see how well you get on. So for the Chaplain, it's not too much focused on his stat lines of what he can do, but it's more about the bonuses that he can grant and help other units, primarily to help them get into close combat with deep strike. So because he's a Terminator Chaplain, he's able to deep strike here. So he's able to arrive with units such as Sanguinary Guard and Captain. So points wise for him, he comes in at 95 points for the model. And then I pay 25 points to Master of Sanctity to make him better. That means he gets an extra Litany to choose from, and he can also recite an extra Litany per turn as well. Then pay 5 points to give him a Combi Melta, so that makes him 125 points. So he's not too bad, 5 wounds, 3 attacks. With Blood Angels and Space Marines you can obviously get extra attacks coming through. The Courageous Arcanum's not bad. In close combat, 4+ invulnerable save. But the main reason for taking him is the ability to help improve charges. So first up, we give him a Relic, which is from here, and this is the key part here. This is the main reason for taking him. So Icon of the Angel. The bearer gains the following ability: Icon of the Angel aura ability. Whilst a friendly Blood Angels unit is within 6 inches of this model, so it's not wholly within, so you can stretch quite far, so you usually land in the middle. And it's Blood Angels units, so it can be characters and regular infantry, core or not, doesn't matter. Within 6 inches of him, they can reroll charges. Now that's huge, it's really going to help you trying to get your charge. So now you're on an 8-inch rerollable charge. You're tipping over now into more than half a chance of that charge going ahead, so that's pretty good. But to really improve it, you play a combination. I'll just run through this because the whole tactic hinges on this combination here. So I'm in the regular Space Marines Codex, and you take, first of all you have to take the Litany. Yep. So you get Canticle of Hate. Select that as one of your listeners. So run through the rules for this. If this listener is inspiring, master for any chapter core or character units within 6 inches of this priest. So bear in mind you've already got a rerollable charge. You also get +2 to charge rolls made for that unit. So you can't combine that with the Blood Angels +1. So, but it will turn it into +2 inches for your charge. And also you get an extra 3 inches for any pile-in moves or consolidation moves as well. So you really can push in deep once that charge goes ahead. So now himself and other units within 6 inches, when they land by deep strike, can get a 7-inch charge rerollable. That is a much higher chance of that going ahead. That means your charge will go ahead most of the time. The odds of that of rolling a 7 on 2d6 rerollable is quite high. I guess about 70% of the time that charge will go ahead. That's a vast improvement from a standard 9-inch charge on 2 dice, which is unlikely to go ahead. Now you've got a nice bit of reliability, and if you bring in multiple units, most of those units will make it into combat, and then you're able to make good impact on the battlefield. But we hit a problem. Litanies are done in the command phase. Deep striking is done after that in the movement phase. So then you use a stratagem, commanding oratory here, 2 CP. Use the stratagem at the start of any of your phases other than your command phase. It's letting you use a litany outside of the command phase, such as the movement phase, shooting phase, close combat, whenever. Select on depth to start his Chaplain unit from your army that has not recited litany this turn, which he hasn't. He's deep striked in, he's fresh. That model can recite 1 litany that has not already been recited by a friendly model this turn. So that's fantastic. So you need a 3+, but it's even better. That litany is automatically inspiring. Do not reroll. It takes effect until the start of your next command phase. So you're guaranteed that will go off, which is absolutely superb. Which means you choose where he lands, you play that stratagem in a phase outside of the command phase. Combine that with the Relic, you've now got, for himself and other units, a 7-inch rerollable charge, which means that most of your charges will go ahead. So this is the key man here for this strategy to work. It'll be a disaster if you do it outside of that and you drop down multiple units need 9-inch charges. I've seen it time and time again, even my own games, watching others play. It's just the frustration of charges not going ahead, and you can't build a decent tactic around such unreliability. So to counter that, there is a decent combo that you can go for. So that's been explained here with the Chaplain in Terminator Armour. So 7-inch rerollable charge, way more reliable. It means you can build a pretty strong assault force based on a deep strike attack. So I've gone through that a bit, but that's sort of one of the key sort of hinges of this army. It revolves around this guy. So when you watch battle reports and you can check them out, you'll see the placement of him being most important. And he can make his own charges. He's decent enough. He could charge into something and cause trouble. But it's other units to try and make them get into close combat. The captain can join him, or he has his own built-in rerollable charge. The captain can go outside of 6 inches for him. Doesn't have to be within range. He has his own rerollable charge. But if the captain does stay within range, he'll benefit from the +2 to charges. So that's why HQs play sort of a vital role here. Some armies, HQ choices sort of complementary, sort of okay, but for the Blood Angels force, my HQ choices I think are very important indeed. So what we'll do now is we're going to start to form up the two elements to this force. You're going to see the tactical element of the army, and then you're going to see the element that strikes the opponent. So that's the two HQs there that will strike the enemy. We'll just push them up there. So you've got two more HQ choices. It's double Librarian Dragnots here, unique to the Blood Angels, Romulus and Remus. So these begin the game on the table. We'll look them up. I think they're an excellent choice. One of them was, to get one in the army was recommended years ago, and then since then I've gone and got a second. Liking the idea of the double dread fighting alongside each other, these two brothers in arms here fighting away. Librarian Dragnots. So again, this is a unit that I think is excellent, and when you start stacking up the abilities on it, can become very, very good indeed. So Librarian Dragon, run through the stats here. So 6-inch move is quite slow, but there's ways around that. 3 pluses to hit. It's 8 wounds, so it's pretty good. Toughness 7, so it's like just short of a tank. 4 attack space and a 3-up save. Now, the way I run these, this is a character Dreadnought, so I'm able to hide it because it's got 8 wounds. I'm able to hide it behind screening units, so it's hard for the opponent to shoot these down whilst this screening unit's protecting them. So often you'll see these deployed behind other units at the back of my line, and these, I've called them like kamikaze dreadnoughts. They can move out quickly, as we'll see, and then strike selected targets and cause trouble for the opponent. So they're sort of shrouded behind screening units to the time's right, and then they move out quickly and go on kamikaze charges and cause trouble. They are decent high damage available from these. 4 attack space, Space Marines on the charge, so 5 attacks. And you also get an extra bonus attack with the Force Halberd as well, so high damage coming through. The Furioso Fist gives you ×2 strength, so strength 12. Maybe on +1 to the wound rolls, 8 -3 and 3 damage. Nice high amount of damage coming through. Then the Force Halberd gives you +2 strength, so strength 8, but still it's +1 to the wound rolls, 8 -3, D3 +3 damage with that weapon. And you get an extra attack with that, so 4, 5, 6 attacks on the charge. 7 attacks on the charge if you're on turn 3 onwards. For Blood Angels, you've got Duty Eternal, so it's -1 damage from that as well. And not only do they fight really well, and nice and durable, and they're a protected character, but they're also able to manifest 2 psychic powers a turn, so there's psychers on top of that also. So points wise, they're 150 points each. I do have the spare points and pay for a Melta gun on each of those. Useful enough for softening up targets or firing at something else before you charge in. So I've gone for the Melta gun option with them. So psychic powers. I believe you can access psychic powers from the Space Marines book, but I go for ones here that are unique for the Blood Angels. So the downside of these is speed. 6-inch move, you're going to be wandering around the table. It's no good trying to get into close combat. So I take 2 psychic powers, which are identical for both. Some people have criticised that and says, why don't you mix the powers up? But the idea is that one of these gets activated in a turn, goes out, does its mission, perhaps dies, and then I then use the psychic powers on the other one, and then it does a similar mission on a different turn. They usually don't go out together. Usually they're sent out sort of one at a time. So first one I give is Quickening. This is warp charge value of 6. Very likely that's going to go off. To the start of the next command phase, you can re-roll advanced rolls and charge rolls made for this Psyker. So re-rollable charge, and +1 on the charge for being Blood Angels. You also get an extra D3 attacks, which is fantastic. It just pushes them up to a scary amount of damage. Character's going to be in trouble, vehicle's going to be in trouble, heavy infantry with a lot of wounds going to be in trouble with these things. The idea is that they strike hard and cause enough damage in one turn that they've been effective. It's not really a unit that's going to be there turn after turn after turn, because the opponent will try and deal with them. So I want them to strike hard and do the damage straight away. I then combine that with Wings of Sanguinius. So we've got nice, decent striking power with these, but speed is the major problem. So I take Wings of Sanguinius, warp charge value of 6, nice and likely it's going to go off. You can then make a normal move. If manifested, this Psyker can make a normal move or fall back as if it were your movement phase. In addition to the end of the phase, the Psyker has a movement characteristic of 12 and fly. So now you've got move 6, jump 12, and then with Quickening, a re-rollable +1 inch charge. And now you've got a Dreadnought that can move very, very quickly across the table. Move from relative safety of like even where your main battle line is along the back, and stretch right out to easily reach the centre of the table and beyond. So I think it's a great way to play them. You can shelter them for as long as you need to, and then just unleash them with a rapid move up the table. Ton of heavy damage attacks coming through as well on them. So I found that tactic worked so well. I then went for the double, and the idea is that I run the 2 same psychic powers, they're equipped the same. One goes in, does his kamikaze charge and does his attacks and so on, and then on another turn to repeat and do the same again with the other. So these will strike not via deep strike, but they can support the assault by leaping in from the back lines to help out the other units that are arriving via deep strike on the table. So I'm a massive fan of this combination and the way they operate at the moment, and that's why I've gone for the pair of them with identical loadout here for psychic powers. Yeah, and it was recommended to me years ago, got to get a Librarian Dragon, try and use it, see how you get on, and I followed that advice, and fantastic model, unique to the Blood Angels, and has performed well in different games. So massive fan of those, and it's a unit I'd encourage you to get a hold of if you're a Blood Angels player, and to use that combination we've just talked about. So I'll put these over here, because really these would start with the ground force, as I've called it here, the force, the half of the army that starts on the table. The other restriction, I'll mention it now, is points or power level. It's got to be less than half that arrives via deep strikes. You can't go for an all deep strike army with the restrictions. You've got to have just over half of your army on the ground. So it's handy that they help to make up those points, and yet still have a rapid movement across the table to join in the assault. Armour of Contempt is a big thing to mention as well. It's going to help all of these units. It's going to help the Dreadnoughts. Just negating a little bit of that AP minus coming through. So it's really a big help for Space Marines, and it will help the durability of the Blood Angels. So that's my HQs. I really wanted all 4 of these. Hope you can see the reasoning behind it. The Chaplain's essential, the Captain's smash as well, and the double Dreadnoughts, Librarian Dragnots, effective, fast Psykers on the battlefield. So I've gone for the double patrol. It's cost me CP, but I think I've got some powerful and important HQ choices. So then to make up the patrol, I need 2 troops choices. I've got 3 here for this list. So these are what you're going to see now is tactical choices, holding objectives and fulfilling secondaries, either for Tempest of War or regular secondaries taken from the books, which may be to hold table quarters, to perform actions in different areas of the battlefield, to hold objectives, and so on. So that's the kind of units. That's not their job's to strike and kill stuff, to counter attack, but now I need units that are going to hold, maneuver around the table. So first up is Intercessors. So I'm not going to dwell on these too much. Squad of 5 and another squad of 5. No upgrades for them. They are there to operate around the board, holding objectives, performing actions like retrieve Nachman data, for example. With Intercessors, you see, I'm not taking them for their fighting ability on the board. I actually try and keep them out of trouble. They're there just to work to help fulfill secondaries. For example, say for example, retrieve Nachman data, performing an action in each table quarter of the board. I'll deploy each of those in a table quarter, perform the action. Them being troops, that action will complete. And the idea is just to keep them at full strength and just to fulfill that, just to help rake points in. They also have they're Phobos units. They can use the Guerrilla Tactics ability. Use a strategy movement phase, and a Phobos unit from your army is 1 or 6 inches from enemy models. Is selected to move. If the mission you're playing is using strategic reserves, you can place a unit in strategic reserve. So they can fulfill, say, an Nachman data in your own table quarter on the back line, disappear them off the table for a CP, and then bring them in on another table quarter later on in the game to fulfill that action. So that's the kind of job with those. Anchor and secure objectives, perform actions, stay out of trouble, and help bring in points for this Blood Angels force, whilst other units are busy doing the fighting. See, there's those two elements, trying to make sure you cover both. Next is like a home objective defense type unit, and also to act as a screening unit with some durability to help protect things such as these Dreadnoughts. So I played around with different sizes, but in the end, and with the points that I've got, I've gone for a full squad of 10 Intercessors. So it's 200 points for these. There's plenty of durability. Aura Contempts help them out. So my favourite weapon is the auto bolt rifle. It's 30 shots coming from this unit, which is okay. A little bit of screen clearance ability they can do. I guess the two main things they're used for at the moment is holding objectives. Take a fair bit to shift a full squad of them off an objective. I can combat squad them if I want to for flexibility. But a full squad of those will act as a pretty hefty screen to protect things like the Dreadnought. So often you'll see them in the centre of the table, holding on to objective, screen the Dreadnought, and that's their job, and they can lay down a bit of Dakka if they need to. But it's a unit I try and protect. Don't want them being destroyed, and try and keep them out of trouble, not expose them to too much in the way of firepower and close combat from the opponent. So that's the idea with those. Just need something sort of solid to hide behind. With the Dreadnoughts being there, the opponent, will think twice about coming too close to them with these on patrol. Again, don't need to dwell on those too much, so we'll move on. So now what we've got here is a decent enough ground force. I guess we'll finish the ground force off now at this point. So probably the most controversial unit choices at the moment is the Invicta Tactical Warsuits, which we've had a look at already in the showcase part of the video. There's number 1, and there's number 2. So I love the models. I've ran them for Blood Angels and then a number of different options of what faction or chapter to paint them for. I like the idea of them because they're quite quick. They've got 10-inch moves. They're pretty swift around the table. You can infiltrate with them. They've got concealed positions. Pretty good. They're superior to vehicles because regular tanks, because they're able to stand up for themselves a bit in close combat. They've got 4 attack space Marines on the charge and extra attack. They're on +1 to the wound rolls for being Blood Angels. And the Invicta Fist gives them ×2 strength, so strength 14. I mean, it's pretty good. AP -3 and 3 damage. So, close combat's fine. Their firepower is okay. It's just Dakka mostly. You've got the Heavy Bolter here, 3 shots, damage 2, strength 5. You've got Fragstorm Grenade Launcher for D6 blast shots, or 18-inch range. The Twin Iron Hail Heavy Stubber, 8 shots, strength 4 -1, 1 damage. And the Twin Iron Hail Autocannon Heavy 6, strength 7 -1, 2 damage. So its Dakka is okay. Downside is they can't pop smoke. They don't get -1 damage against them. Toughness 6, but with 13 wounds and a 3-up save. So They're okay. I'd say they're average. I wouldn't say they're terrible, but they're not amazing. So they're one of the units that's lined up perhaps to be dropped because their durability is not too good. The firepower is not too good, and their close combat is all right, but they usually get shot to pieces before they have a chance to fight. I think perhaps the better way to use them, the number of games that I've played with these, the better way to use them would be to be conservative with them. The same with the infantry, to actually hide and try and keep them alive for as long as possible. They're a decent counter-attack threat for the opponent trying to push forwards, but they're no good if they're dead. And so throwing them away in the early stages of the game is not a good idea. So I guess the most controversy is the ground force here. It's not too bad. In recent games, the Blood Angels have done okay. They have had some wins. But see, I love the philosophy behind these. The strong deep strike. We'll see the units to come in just a moment. But the strong deep strike element, where they're going to land, the fear of them landing, the reliability of their charge, and so on. But the downside is that half your army is off the table, and the way in 9th edition is, things can happen so quick in games. If the opponent can get to grips with these very quickly, the Blood Angels can find themselves in trouble, and it could be the case that instead of leading the attack, you're actually trying to counter-attack what the opponent's doing, and it can all not go too well if that's the case. But in the games where the Blood Angels do better, this force is preserved and stays out of trouble. These arrive, cause trouble for the opponent, and these can act as more of a support, and it clears the way for these to operate nicely across the table. So I still rate the list. I think it's okay, but the weaker element would be the Invictus Tactical War Suits. So something to think about what to do with those, what to swap them out for. But if I do swap them out for units, it's got to be units still that would be part of the ground force. So that actually finishes the ground force. If you add all that together, it's just over half the points of the army. Invictus Tactical War Suits are 160 points each. It's not ridiculous points cost. Some have said a better option would just be to take regular Redemptors. It's more durability with them, more protection. Firepower is a bit more scary, so yeah, it could be just a... I don't know if it's a straight swap. I hope it's close enough. Probably quite straightforward. Work it into the list. I think they're they're 185 points. So Invictors are cheaper by 25 points each. So there's that to consider. Tricky. I mean, the infiltrate idea is quite good, to grab an early objective and so on, if you can hide them. Yeah, I really am chewing over this Blood Angels list, but you can leave your own comments and feedback. We'll move on. That's the ground force done. So now we've got to think about units that are going to land, strike, and hit hard. And it needs to be effective. We've got to try and blunt the opponent's force as much as possible. So we'll stay here and we'll go to Terminators. So actually drawing from the Terminators Assault Squad, the regular Space Marine Codex. So here they are. It's one of the mainstays of my army down through the years. The Terminators are on a unit of 5. People loved them in Blood Angels armies, they've despised them, they've questioned why they should be there, but I've pretty much kept them in every list. So they still remain. I'm still a big fan of the models and of the unit. I still think they're effective enough. So you got Terminators now. They did receive a boost a while ago, getting the 3 wounds, which is great. You've got 2+ save, you've got 5+ built-in vulnerable save. You go for the Storm Shield, you then bump up to a 4+ invulnerable save. So whatever situation they're in, they're going to be proved quite hard to shift out of the way. All equipped to the Thunder Hammers. So I'd use these to deep strike in, if I can, against heavier targets. So to hit a monster, a vehicle, heavy infantry, something that needs a bit more higher strength and damage, I'd send the Terminators in there. And the idea is they land near the Chaplain to get the rerollable charge and the 7-inch charge. So nice, it's unlikely they'll go in. With these, this unit here is to strike the target and then to survive on the turn after with their durability, and then just to keep fighting. So one of those units is going to land, deep strike, push, and keep driving in and endure on the table for as long as possible with the Terminator Assault Squad. There's not too much really to say more about those. You know, Thunderhammer's nice solid choice, a -2. There's -1 to the hit rolls with them, but still just the number of attacks they can cause trouble enough. There is a Stratagem Fury of the First, I think can be used on them, so give you +1 to the hit rolls, that cancel that out. If they land near their captain, you'll give them reroll 1s, which will help them out as well. And if you're starting to move on to later turns, you can play Litany of Hate to give them reroll the hit rolls and so on. So there are ways to buff and improve those to make them strike that much harder. So nice solid unit. Cost of those is 33 points each, with the Thunderhammers as well is 215 points. So expensive enough, but it's one of the heavy hitting assault units. The next unit is a popular choice amongst Blood Angel players, and that is Sanguinary Guard. Fantastic looking unit, so iconic, and exceptionally good. The rules for them are excellent, they're deadly on the battlefield. So the way the list has worked out, with a few points reductions here and there with the latest updates, and by dropping the Storm Shield on the captain, I've been able to squeeze in another one of these. So I've now run a unit of 8. It was 7, which is effective enough, but I've bumped them up to 8. Yeah, with all their wings spread out, they're quite a presence on the battlefield. So there they are. So this unit will chew through most targets. Heavy, medium, light infantry in massive trouble against these. Huge trouble. They're just like a squad of those with all the combos will wipe out a full squad of Necron Warriors, 20 Necron Warriors. They'll hack them down quite comfortably. Terrifying what they can do. They match in perfectly as like a bodyguard choice for my captain. The golden armor just matching up nicely, so they are like his bodyguard, his elite unit. And there's actually some rules, some interaction rules that they complement each other really well as well. So for Sanguinary Guards, what makes them so good, they jump infantry, so you've got nice movement with them. They can deep strike in, they can move off nice and swift afterwards, so tactically excellent. 3 up, weapon skill, ballistic skill, 2 wounds, just normal space range, 3 attacks as base, which is absolutely superb. A nice high amount of attacks for the unit. Then you've got Space Marines on the charge, Savage Echoes later on in the games. You've got like 5 attacks each for them. Times that by 8. It's a crazy amount of attacks coming through. So, Captain, Core, reroll 1s. Good news. Reroll 1s for everything, for shooting as well. They are actually equipped with Angelus bolt guns. Someone suggests taking Inferno pistols, but I do make use of that 18-inch Assault 2 firepower, strength 4, -1/1 damage. If it's tactical doctrine, quite often they will turn up on turn 2. Then it's going to be AP -2 firepower. So you can direct a lot of very accurate firepower, say at one screening unit, and charge into another. So you can get double bubble, double value from them. You know, effective shooting attack and effective in close combat, getting real good value for them. I exclusively equip them with swords. Strength 4, Strength 5 with the sword, +1 to the wound rolls. You'll be wounding most infantry on 2s. AP -3 is a nice high amount of AP, and 2 damage as well. So against the heavier infantry types, or even against multi-wound models, you have got that damage 2 coming through. So tons of attacks, hitting and wounding very reliably. Gets better. As Angelic Visage, if you're going to fight against them in melee, it's -1 to hit them. And this one here, which is really strong, Heirs of a Skeleton. Each time model in this unit makes an attack, if that model's unit is within 6 inches of any friendly Blood Angels Warlord models, so usually I keep them in combination together, you get +1 to the hit roll. So now they're hitting on 2s, rerolling their 1s, and often against infantry they're wounding on 2s as well, with their blades that are coming through AP -3 and 2 damage. So you can see that they're exceptionally reliable for hitting. Heirs of a Skeleton, it says each time the unit makes an attack. So they're going to get it for shooting. So now for shooting their Angelus bolt guns, they're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. So as reliable as you can get firepower. You know, all of them, if not the vast majority of them are going to hit their targets for shooting and in close combat, and potentially AP minus 2 for firepower coming through. So, massive fan of the Sanguinary Guard, terrifying unit on the table. Total points cost for those 240 points. You are expending a fair bit. They're an expensive enough unit, but for what they can do, the damage that they can do on the battlefield, they are, I think, well worth it. And just a major, look at them on the table. Golden boys here. Not just the red, but just the way they brighten up the whole list here. The Sanguinary Guard, massive fan of them, and they're a popular choice amongst Blood Angel players. So I'll land them in again near the Chaplain. So often you'll see something like this. You've got the Chaplain here in the middle, Sanguinary Guard on one side, Captain nearby, Terminators all lined up, poised for the charge. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 units ready to go in and strike the opponent as hard as possible. So that's the idea with those. There's one unit left here. It's another expensive unit. So what I've shown you for the assault is units that will land and try and fight by charging in. Sometimes you need to go for a target that you can't reach with charges. And so I wanted a unit that could land and dish out a high amount of damage, but via shooting as opposed to trying to charge into stuff. So for that, it's Inceptors and the Plasma Inceptor option. So we'll bring them in, squad of 5. We'll put them just in here. We'll go Chaplain, just so you can see the whole list. So these you don't have to, because I can leave them on the board, but usually I'll deep strike these in because the opponent will shoot at them and try and kill them as quickly as possible. So deep striking usually means you can bring them in at full strength and at least get a full volley from them before the opponent has a chance to react. So that's the idea of those. Again, they can deep strike in with the other units. Usually you'll see, not always, but usually I'll try and put them near the Chaplain, near the Captain, to grant the reroll ones, because if you supercharge with the Plasma Exterminators, there's a chance of rolling ones and then the models are slain. So the ability to reroll ones is very, very useful for them. They've got 10-inch move, the toughest 5, 3 wounds each. There's a nice bit of durability of those. 3 up save, Armour Contempt helps them out. So Plasma Exterminator. So they land and they need to shoot at a vehicle, a monster, a screen of infantry, heavy, medium infantry, whatever the target is. 18-inch range. Nice bit of range to reach over screens and to get deeper into the opponent's formation. Assault D3. Now, each model is equipped with 2 Plasma Exterminators each. So each model is giving you 2 D3 shots. So that's 10 D3 shots here for the squad. So you're averaging about 20 shots roughly in total for those. Strength 7 minus 3, 1 damage. Now it's a blast weapon. If you're firing at a larger target, each individual Plasma Exterminator will max out. Instead of being D3 shots, it'll be straight 3. So you can max to a guaranteed 6 shots each from these, which will give you 30 shots coming through, which is a crazy number of shots at high caliber. Rerolling ones for the Captain, nice and reliable shooting. If you go supercharge, it becomes strength 8, so now you've got sort of vehicle killing potential here. Strength 8 minus 3, 2 damage it goes up to with that one, but there is the danger of the ones resulting in slain models. Deep strike in, you can combat squad angels of death, and so on and so on. So that's the idea of the Plasma Inceptors. The idea to reach over targets and to shoot at them and eliminate targets quite effectively, which they can do, but the opponent usually will go after them because of the threat that they are. They're 50 points each now if you go for the Plasma option, so that's 250 points for the squad, so there is a bit of pressure that they need to make an impact in the game to try and pay back the amount of investment that's gone into them. So that's the list here for this Blood Angels force. So just dividing it down here, this is my assault force to land on the board. Usually you'll see all of these turn up by deep strike. Chaplin's the hinge. Units will deploy within 6 inches, especially the Terminators, Captain and the Sanguinary Guard. He'll then use the stratagem to grant +2, or to make Litany go off, which will give him +2 to their charges. He has a Relic which grants them Rerollable charges, Apprentice Knight, very, very reliable charges now available if they land within range of him. The Captain, great combination going on with him and the Sanguinary Guard. And then also the Plasma Inceptors, very useful shooting options. So you'll see that this lot charge, these land in and fire at some other target with their firepower. And then for the ground force, Scout Dreadnoughts, which are more effective when they hide and they can support later on in the game. It's hard-working Incursor squads to perform secondaries, hold objectives and so on, to operate sort of in stealth on the table. 2 Librarian Dragnots to guard and protect the back lines and to deep strike out, help support the assault. And then a nice big solid unit of Intercessors just to provide a bit of backbone to the army, a bit of substance and a nice screen for characters on the board. I think that's all right, but you're welcome to leave your own comments and suggestions. Do check out the battle reports. There are mixed results in the games. Sometimes you see glorious victories with this list here. They just slaughter stuff in spectacular fashion. Other times it's a hard grind for them. And other times they do get their weaknesses are discovered and found and exploited, and then the list does get into trouble. But through battlefield experience, there are ways to counter that by not, like big lessons have been learned, like not throwing this stuff away, not exposing it too early on, protecting it, being patient, and then arriving with a decent assault seems to work out well in the games. But you'll see that in the different battle reports. Do check out the painting tutorials for the Blood Angels, the conversion work that was done on Captain Lazarus. I'll try and put the links for that as well. And you should see the full list with all the points, values and upgrades and so on. Terminator Chaplin, by the way, Litany of Hate. It's a standard Litany of Hate reroll hit rolls. I then take Mantra of Strength for him for later turns. Gives an extra attack, +1 strength, +1 damage, make him a little bit more potent. And then Canticle of Hate is the third option. So that's the +2 charge, +3 inches for pilings and consolidations. So leave your own comments and feedback, things you would change, things you wouldn't change, and to really get involved with the development of the army as it finalises and official changes are made, then do check out YouTube channel membership, and it's the army development series here as lists are developed and formed for future lists and battles. Do check out if perhaps you've been inspired to expand or get into Blood Angels, then check out the channel sponsor, The Outpost, link for them in the video description below. They do discount 40k, they ship across much of the European Union. There's a threshold, if your order's large enough you can tap into free delivery as well, even across many countries in the EU as well, so a great way of keeping the cost of the hobby down. They also have second hand, so you can trade in models and you can buy second hand models as well at an even greater reduced price, so do check them out, link in the video description below. But that is the Blood Angels, perhaps the most controversial list on the channel, but I think the criticism's been harsh against them. I've seen them have great times of victory in the past, but it's a patchy history ongoing with the Blood Angels. It's hoping for the day where they really become an army that is effective enough. But having said that, I think they're okay. I think they're decent enough. We look forward to playing more games with them in the future. Do check out the other videos in this series. There should be one live for the Orcs, the Thousand Suns. I'm planning to do ones for other armies as well. It's just that these videos are a chance just to immerse yourself in a particular faction, to be guided through all the unit choices and the options and the philosophy of why each choice has been made. And you can borrow and use elements of whatever you've seen here for your own games using your own Blood Angels force. That's the video. Thanks for watching and tune in next time.